You need to reflect on this. It's an interesting thing. No matter how finite and clearly defined a certain activity, like you say, you have a table. A table has the function, clearly defined function. As broad as it is, but it's a very clearly defined thing. And it's you would think it's based on expediency and convenience. There's no oil in that. It's a convenience. It's a necessity. It's a convenience thing. Not true. Beyond and above that convenience, there is, as we said, the oil. There is a human element in this. Even the convenience, do you understand so far? Even the actual convenience element, the whole principle of convenience, does not exist in the animal world. That exists exclusively on the human level. Except convenience, he says, on the level of sechel. And Oyd is on the level of ratzon and nefesh. When you're lacking convenience, you're saying, oh, it's inconvenient. When you're lacking the human element, you're saying, oh, it's animal-like. It's not human. If you eat without a table, you have to hold your plate in your hand and sit. It's inconvenient. If you walk in the street and eat, you might as well compare it to a dog. It's not, you know. Okay. So we shall start. We are on page Tes, and we already started the paragraph that begins on this page, at least the demarcation of my paragraph. But there much I want to say that in the kavanah of mitzvahs, there is subdivisions, because we said in ratzon there are no different ingredients, but in sechel there are. And this is why in kavanas are mitzvahs. Kavanas mitzvahs means the intent that one reflects on when he does a mitzvah. What is this mitzvah about? Let's say tefillin. Kavanah of tefillin is to be mishabed the moyach and the lev, to be mishabed to subjugate the brain and the heart. Then there is tzitzis has a different kavanah. All mitzvahs have different kavanas. That's in the kavanah, because the kavanah, that is how the mitzvah is reflected on the sechel level. Sechel, things are divided into different elements. But in the ratzon, Gemara says, which we already learned, that you can't judge mitzvahs, you're not allowed to judge mitzvahs in terms of which mitzvah is superior to or more important than others, because they're all exactly the same. That element is inside the ratzon in mitzvahs, not the sechel in mitzvahs. These two inyonim of ratzon in mitzvahs and sechel in mitzvahs, in general, is represented by the two inyonim of Torah and mitzvah. This is what we started here. The line starts with the word hataam, and there's 5 lines from the beginning of that paragraph. Where he says that mitzvah the ratzon, there are no differences because it's not movable. But mitzvah the hataam v'hakavona, hataam, the reason, and the kavona and the intent, yesh b'zeh chalukim madrigos. There are differences. Even though it's a little bit premature, but I want to nevertheless, we have encountered this before, to give us a little bit of a richer insight of what hataam. Taam means a reason. Taam also means a taste. We have to understand that the reason in Torah and perhaps I will elaborate on this, because we have been totally misled by the worldly thought process. What is a reason in the world for doing anything? Survival. Survival is an implication that without doing this you don't exist. Everything has a precarious existence. This is the basic logical way of explaining, reasoning, explaining what interests are, what human interests are. Survival, which means a human being is constantly on the brink of extinction, of non-existence, and he has to re-establish his existence. Okay? This is a totally false view. This is a view that does not recognize a creator and understands only one thing, that everything creates itself. Surely, if it creates itself, there is absolutely no basis for its existence. Therefore, it's constantly in a precarious situation, on the verge of extinction. Our view is totally the opposite. There is no such thing as extinction. There's a first being that gives life and presence to everything. The tam, the tam kavana. This is to what extent we recognize that real source, that real meaning, that reality. In ratzon and Ayin, we recognize it in a very profound, all-encompassing manner. In sechel, it becomes very limited. But then in sechel also there is a hataam, there's a taste. In other words, there is reality. So therefore, the pshat tam kavona means the sechel element. This is how you bring the sense of life, the sense of oir, onto the sechel level. There is a difference. One mitzvah is different than the other. Yesh b'zeh Jeder ist nicht Madrigas. Jeder ist nicht Madrigas. Und Beklolus, in general, to identify in general these two principles, who have ben Torah and mitzvahs. This is the difference between Torah and mitzvahs. Sheha-Torah bo b'chinas v'chalkos. For the Torah comes, which means Torah came down to the point of his chalkos, of subdivision, of multiple principles. Shekol inyon ha-Torah, because all inyonim of Torah, yesh bahem chilukim, there are amongst them differences b'bchinas oin ha-chochma shebahem, from the perspective of how much oil of chochma is in them. What is chochma specified? Chochma is one of the faculties of sechel. So we have to explain, understand a very profound and important principle. Yes, chochma is one of the faculties of sechel. But the chochma is that faculty of sechel that facilitates all the others. Chochma and Bina go together, but there is a profound difference between them. This is why this is said Oil HaChochma, because the Oil HaChochma, this is the oil that shines through from the ratzon, from high, from the lukus into sechel. But essentially, this is a godly element, which means it's bligvu, it's insafe, it's a godly truth. But it comes to be recognized on the sechel level. And again, when we say on the sechel level, does not mean that we know it and understand it from a worldly perspective. The world substantiates the godly element. No, that's not the world does not substantiate. It's a godly element, purely godly. The whole mitzvoth of the world is a godly element because there's no basis for the world's existence. So this is the oil ha-chochma. The oil is called the oil ha-chochma because it comes through chochma into the world of sechel. That's why chochma takes that all important position, because this is what brings the sense of reality into the world. Sense of the godly reality into the world. And at that level, coming from there, all the various things, all the various levels, the various aspects that emanate and that are derived and that are identified from the chochma, they're all different in terms of how much of this oil they recognize. This is why we're saying that there is Torah in Torah and mitzvahs. In Torah, in every yonim of Torah, there are differences in the oil ha-chochma, the amount of oil ha-chochma, the kind of oil ha-chochma that comes through them. Why oil ha-chochma? Explain, because oil ha-chochma, this is the moment where elokus comes into worldly recognition. We demonstrate this with the most simple, most obvious experience, and yet something which we cannot even begin to understand. That is, we observe a whole panorama, limitless. As far as the eye can see, we can see. It is in an instant. This panorama that we are observing in this instant consists of many, many miles. Each mile consists of many, many yards. Each yard consists of inches, and each inch consists of a subdivision of inches. And these are all different little pieces. They are subdivisible. And each one of them, there is the oir ha-chochma, there is the oir of the entire reality. The observation, the overall observation of this reality, this is what we call chochma. But this provides for the derivative levels. Like we said many times, you have a whole expanse of land, but then you say, okay, on this spot we can build a house. You don't build a house in an infinite area, you build a house in a demarcated area. This demarcated area is part of the infinite area. But because it's perceived in your chokhmah, you can perceive it as a demarcation. This is the oil ha-chokhmah that comes through all the Yom of Torah, and then there is differences. Okay? Get the point here? This is about the entire derech in the sense of what type of oil ha-chokhmah that comes into all the inyan. V'gam, and then even further above that, above chokhmah, even b'hataam shebetoiro yesh b'zeh chilukim madreges. Even the tainug element in Torah, the chilukim madreges. We started discussing a little bit before I left, even from tainug. We can't extend all the way because this is a whole in itself. The principle though is that infinity does not express itself. Infinity is infinity. The first recognition and expression of the infinity is in ratzon and Ayin. Ratzon and Ayin is an expression of infinity, but it's an expression on an infinite manner, not like in chokhmah, where you can identify subdivisions. In ratzon and Ayin you cannot identify subdivisions. Even though it's an expression, it's not the real thing, the nefesh itself. It's an expression of nefesh. But there itself, it's an expression on an infinite level. That's what the Rebbe says, that even in the tainug in the Torah, there are chilukim madreges. Because Torah essentially is the inyan of bringing things down into the world. And therefore there will be chilukim madreges even in the tainug level.
the aspect that Torah is about bringing things down, make it so that even on a kind of level that it has chiluk and madrigos?
Yeah.
What's the connection?
Because bringing things down means that you have to bring them down to the point where they can be experienced and absorbed by down, from a down up evolution.
You're saying that's what Torah is, so how's that, where do we see the Tainug in the Torah in that?
What?
Where do we see the Tainug in the Torah in that? Like, how does that connect the details, chiluk and madrigos, to the Tainug?
So we explained in the example illustration of the space, the demarcated space of a house. What happens to that space as a result of you putting up the four walls? Has it changed from what it was before? And yet it changed. Because now it's presented in a demarcated manner. But think that there is the essential element of space. You take the open space, like you say, this is the reality itself. You put walls around on a certain area, and that becomes a home. But the space in it has not changed from what it was before. In other words, there is a tiny element in this that comes through even in a demarcated level.
The box is the text box?
So the Tanakh itself has also chiluk. And that is all because, due to the fact that the union of Torah is that the union of Elokus, the union from of the godly presence, should be able to be recognized and observed and understood by the creation. One way of the Torah is described as Torah is Yeredas milmaylo lamato, comes down like water that flow from above to below. Bezehu inyan, just a few more moments. Bezehu inyan, and this is the principle. It says by Matan Torah that at the point of Matan Torah, I'll call dibur porcha nishmos. Every utterance, everything that Hashem, every one statement Hashem, porcha nishmos, the neshamas flew out. It means the neshama flew out. The neshama flew out because it could not be contained within the body, within the limited, finite the Matan Torah, because of Matan Torah, his galus bechinas hataam Torah. Because at the time of Matan Torah, there was the galus, there was a revelation of the tainug element of Torah. Or bechol dibur v'dibur, and therefore, and in each one of the different utterances, yesh tainug protium yuchad. There is a particular tainug. It's not just one element of tainug, but in each of the 10 dibros, there is an element of tainug of its own. Al kein al kol dibur v'dibur. This is why for each dibur there was a porcha nishmos. Each dibur they had a reaction of porcha nishmos, because the tainug sheb'Torah, this is not possible to be contained in a guf. Okay, so this will be it for this morning.
Which then also implies that there's chilukim in timing. That with each of the every dibur was another expression of time.
Right. There is not chilukim in Tanakh itself. But Tanakh should be Torah. The Tanakh as it comes in Torah, there is chilukim.